Hey everyone, we just want to remind you that this is just a silly podcast.
Yeah, like baby games.
Yeah, it's meant to be entertainment. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be funny.
I mean, it's much fun as you can have bitching, but yeah, go on.
I have a ton of fun bitching. Our hate is it's purely hyperbole. There's enough actual hate in the world already. All right.
Speak for yourself. I joined the group.
We love everyone. We encourage you to do the same.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Heck, you gotta try. And now on with the show.
You should be barricaded in your house and kept off of the street, or sterilized, lobotomized, left in a car in heat, cause the things you say and do tell me your brain cells are at you, and that is why I hate you.
Da-da-da-da. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is And That Is Why I Hate You. I am Matthew.
And I am Joaquin.
We are in the midst of a return to school in our area. So how's it been going for you on your end? Are the kids settling in okay?
My son just started kindergarten, so he's having a bit of a transition. The teacher is constantly asking, "Hey, so how do we get him to become more comfortable?" I was like, "I don't know. I'm not a teacher. He's at home whenever I'm with him."
You know, that's funny that you say that because so my son also started kindergarten. I think we talked about that in the last episode. They're both starting kindergarten. We got on the fourth day of school, my wife, not me, but my wife got an email from the teacher that essentially said the gist of it was he's having a hard time or he's not following directions. Like he's not following directions well. So, when we saw that email, we assumed, oh my, what is he doing? Is he screaming? Is he throwing a tantrum? Is he, pushing stuff over? What is he doing to cause the teacher to be on the fourth day of school to be sending an email home? So then my wife is also a kindergarten teacher. So she's very familiar with this. And she, so far this year, has been having a rough time. It seems like the entire class, and she has a co-teacher. So there are two teachers, but they have a pretty big class. And the entire time so far, these kids are just, I guess, a nightmare. Like she had a kid try to bite her. She had a kid try to scratch her face. Like, I guess they will not follow directions, sit still, and they're just awful. They're just not behaving, period. They're just poorly behaved. So she's having a really rough time. She said she's been teaching for, I don't know, 18 years, something like that, maybe. And she said she has never had a class this bad at the beginning of a year. She's really disheartened. Anyway, so we got that note and we were like, oh boy, what's going on? So my wife talked to the teacher the following day, and the teacher said, I didn't get the whole conversation, but the gist was, yeah, he just seems to be having a hard time with the directions and we kind of have to go over it with him again. And she was like, well, is he being belligerent? And she was like, oh, no, he's very nice. He just seems to be having a hard time following the directions. And I was like, so she kind of went off, I think, a little bit. It's the fourth day of school. He's new. It's kindergarten. I think most kids are probably going to have a hard time adjusting for a few weeks at the very least. So she was pissed. She did not have a good, she was not happy about the conversation. And then they started talking about, what's it called? Transitional kindergarten.
You mean daycare?
Well, I mean, so I guess my wife's question was she had heard that the difference between the transitional kindergarten and the regular kindergarten class was a lot more playtime and a little less academic time. And she kind of reassured her, no, that's not the case at all, the teacher. And then after they talked about it for quite a while, the teacher said something along the lines of, and then do the regular kindergarten next year. And my wife was like, wait, hold on a second.
So you're holding him back in kindergarten.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
So that's what she said. So you're telling me he would repeat kindergarten next year? And she's like, oh, yeah. All right. So my son can read and write. Perfect. Like very well. He can read a book. Yeah. He can write full sentences. He can count. He knows math. He knows all the shapes. He knows everything. So my thought is maybe he's actually a little bored, maybe. But there's no fucking way he's going to repeat kindergarten. It would be just such a waste of time. Even if there is some social aspect that maybe he needs to have, ease in better socially, there's just no way. So, yeah, she was very, 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 very angry after that call.
What the hell happened to trying? Just
I don't know.
And I'm talking about on the teacher's part. She could be a great teacher, but you are a kindergarten teacher. Most of your job is babysitting. Most of your job is to transition a child at the age of 5 or possibly a little older, a little younger,
Sure.
into going into first grade. That's why you are not first grade. You are kindergarten.
Well, that was just
Like,
the point. And she said, I'm a kindergarten teacher as well. I guess she finally got the point where she felt the need. And she said, I have a full class of kids that are just straight up belligerent. They do not behave. They're rough. They're biting. They're scratching. They're not listening. They won't stay in their seats. It's not that they can't follow directions or they're having trouble following directions. They just
won't.
don't want to. Yeah, they don't want to. So, not a great start to the year. But I don't know. What do you do? She talked about
that's just one anecdotal story, but I think a bunch of different parents are dealing with this, because even with my daughter, they sent her home on the 3rd day of school. She didn't misbehave, mind you. They sent her home because she fell asleep.
I don't understand.
They said,
at all.
we can't get, they called my wife. Mind you, they have my number and they have my wife's number.
Right.
I work a part-time job right now because I need to be available for when the kids need to come home or if something happens.
Sure.
My wife works full-time. She said, call my husband first. In the note, she states to the school, call my husband first. They called her 4 times.
We have the same problem. I own my own business and work out of the house. I am home and have basically limitless flexibility. They call her first every time, and then I don't hear from them. I don't know why.
My wife called me and said, "Did the school call you?" I was like, "No. What's going on? Is everything okay?" So there's just like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to go pick up our daughter." So I go to the school, and she's groggy, but awake. And I talk to the nurse, and the nurse asked me, "Is there anything you guys do to keep her awake?" I went, "No, she's home. If she wants to take a nap, guess what she gets to do?"
She takes a nap.
So, my wife comes home later that night, and we finally get to discuss after putting the kids to bed. So it's probably around midnight by the time we get to talk, and she tells me that the nurse noticed that my daughter was smiling, pretending to be asleep at one point. Now, she did fall asleep at one point, but she probably faked not being able to wake up. Because, at the age bracket that she's in, she's trying people. Not saying that that's good, because if she did that with me, I'd get upset. But the teacher didn't even try. Like, her first thing was to just send her off. The nurse noticed something that the teacher did not notice. And they said, "Oh, we're going to send her home." So last week they called my wife again, did not call me. She fell asleep again. Okay. Is she awake now? It is 1:30. You close at 3.
Yep.
You're not sending her home.
I don't understand it, but you're right. It does kind of seem like a lack of willingness to try. I mean, isn't that what being a teacher is all about? It's helping kids get ready for life, and there are hurdles like that come up. Some misbehavior, things like falling asleep, having trouble following directions. Those are common things that happen to children, and they're things that have to work through. I think back to when I was in elementary school, and I specifically remember 4th grade. We had a social studies teacher. What was his name doesn't matter. And the class was awful. I mean, they were just straight belligerent, but they wouldn't have thought of just calling and saying, "You have to come pick the kid up because he's not behaving." They have systems in place in the school to try to deal with that, whether it's some sort of timeout or detention or in-school suspension or after-school suspension or whatever it may be. But the idea of she fell asleep, so we're going to call and have you pick her up. I don't understand that at all.
That's defeatist.
It's completely defeatist. It makes no sense. And it just seems like something that a student is something the student needs to get used to. Again, we're only a week or 2 into the school year here, after a summer of, kids being able to essentially do what they want, having all the time that they need to themselves, outside of what we request of them. Going back into a schedule like that, is different. And I don't know, I don't know how your kids were with bedtimes, but my kids' bedtimes were kind of hit or miss. You know, sometimes it was on time, sometimes it was a little late. There were times we wanted to do something, so their bedtimes ended up being a little later because we were out later. But it just, I don't know, it really makes no sense to me. So
Yeah,
I
well,
guess.
my to answer your question, my son is very regular. Like he usually will go to sleep around the same time. But my daughter struggles because she has behavioral issues and she's on some medications for it. Pardon me.
Oh, so
And
that I mean, that alone,
oh,
I've been through.
they told my wife, well, why don't you have you considered changing her medications or seeing a psychologist? Wait, hold on. What? We've been working with you all last year with her behavior. What is, and are you serious? Oh, we have a whole new faculty? Oh, that's great. It doesn't matter. Those records still should be there.
Right, and
What are you?
there's something that the teacher, I believe, is typically tasked with going through before the school year starts to understand each kid. I know.
Yeah.
So my wife does special education, so they have the individualized education plans, the IEPs, that are, you know, essentially a whole, I don't know what you want to call it, a jacket on the student, you know, explaining everything that's
Like a
going on with them.
dossier.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, there's something, and they have meetings to go over them with the parents. So I don't know. I don't. Maybe it's just in this new age where I think parents are looking for more transparency and are more
Hmm.
engaged with the school when there are things they want addressed. You know, if they're upset about something or mad about something, they're far more likely to reach out and complain and bitch. Teachers have emails nowadays, so it's easy to
True.
just
Very
send an
true.
email through. I mean, my wife has students, not students, but their parents
Parents.
that text her, which I think is nuts. I told her I don't understand why in the world you would give any of your students' parents your cell phone number, but that's, you know, that's the type of teacher she is. She's willing to answer texts or calls or whatever on weekends if there's something that comes up. But I don't know. It's really disheartening to have the school year start off that way,
Yeah. Well, don't and don't
already.
get me wrong with all the bitching that we're kind of doing about it. I understand that one, being a teacher is very stressful, depending on the district or where you go, where you work
Sure.
in. I also understand that being a teacher is potentially dangerous. You might have anxiety being a teacher, especially with, the constant dangers that involve being in the school setting. But
Sure.
understand that one, school in America right now is stressful for anyone that has any attachment to the school.
Hmm.
Because we are trusting the school with our progeny. And not only are we worried about, students hurting each other, students doing awful things to one another. We're afraid of teachers doing awful things to the students. We're also afraid of some rando coming in with a weapon and hurting somebody. We are afraid of a million different things. So don't think that my sympathy is lost on you. But when you take up a certain profession, when you take up a certain identity, when you put out a certain type of, I'm going to use the word energy, but projection of yourself, you take on the responsibilities that are underneath those. And you are, as a parent, I have the responsibility to make sure my children are taken care of, they're fed, that they have access to an education beyond what I can provide for them. As a teacher, you should be more than willing to work with me as a parent and the 60 other parents you might have an attachment to, 60 to
Sure.
80 other
Yeah.
parents you have to, they go, hey, I'm going to create this network for this to happen. But now that I'm there with the teacher, we have to go to the administration that needs to do their part in that responsibility as well. Because guess what? Everything else has changed. The school system has not changed progressively enough for it to be adequate for a teacher to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't really thought of it that way, but you're right. I don't feel like the school system has really evolved at all in that respect, you know, even since we were kids. But
Nope.
yeah, to your point, no sympathy lost. Again, my wife's a teacher. I know firsthand, you know, the troubles that can come with that, and the stresses that can come with that, and the anxieties that could come with that. And I mean, she worries just purely about, am I, you know, doing what I need to do to make sure these kids are prepared for what's coming
Mm-hmm.
next year, and she takes it to heart. So no, I definitely get that. But as a parent, you know, 4 days into the school year, to have a teacher writing home that, you know, your child's not even really having trouble following directions, but it seems like more having trouble kind of understanding some of the direction,
They're having a
or
hard time learning
yeah,
in the
learning, which
place
is
of
of
learning.
learning, right? Which is your job,
Like kindergarten is literally teaching children how to learn.
right? You're
That's
absolutely right.
what it is.
No,
So
you're
you shouldn't have
100%
gotten
right.
that message at all unless he was throwing some kind of fit or causing some kind of trouble.
Right, which is what we assumed. I mean, my immediate thought was, "Oh boy, what did he do there?" Which, he's a good kid for the most part, but it's possible, he
You,
could throw a little tantrum about something if he didn't get his way, or I don't know.
I just thought of an answer to my own statement that actually could fit for what you're saying for your situation. The only other reason the teacher should be able to message you with a message like that in that context is to work with you on probably quote unquote extra work so he gets his mind going and ready and constantly doing that thing. But that also should be later on in the year when the teacher learns the student better.
Right. No,
Because
I agree.
you might get that epiphany going, oh, he's a hands-on learner. Oh, he likes stories. He'll remember things if I say it in a story. Maybe I should
Sure.
play Schoolhouse Rock. That might work. I didn't know how to count by fives until I watched Schoolhouse Rock as a kid. So why would that not work? But you didn't even try. You just went, oh, this one's tarded. Let's call the parents. Maybe
Yeah,
he should stay behind. What kind of bullshit is that?
well, what bothered me the most was, you know, making that suggestion. It almost just seemed like she wanted to get rid of him.
That's what I'm saying.
Because like I said, academically, he's far ahead of where he needs to be. I mean, he literally can pick up a book and just read it to you.
Yeah.
He can write out full sentences. He made a little house or fort for his stuffed animals the other day, and he wrote all these signs up for them. And he wrote his stuffed animals are Spot and Bluey. He wrote Spot and Bluey's house and wrote emergency exit on a piece of paper and put it by, and then wrote a street name and put a street sign up. So academically, for him to repeat would be insane. He's just going to be bored. So I don't know.
That's how you get behavioral nonsense out
Right.
of like generally normal kids.
Well, that's exactly what my fear is. I know that's an issue that comes up too, where some children really are just bored with the work because it comes naturally to them, or they already know it, and they end up having behavioral issues because they just are sick of sitting there, not really feeling engaged.
They're not engaged at all. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm hoping things pick up. But to your point, yeah, maybe she'll get to know him a little better, and things will get a little easier. But and that was our response to what you said. Hey, what can we do to help? Is there something we could do at home? Is there something we could be talking about with him? Some activities we can be doing to help with the issues you're seeing? So I don't know. I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Hopefully your daughter doesn't fall asleep in class again. I mean, how
I'm-
could she?
I'm hoping for a bunch of different things, at least involving her, but with my son too, because he is adjusting very badly. I won't say very badly. He's adjusting. His adjustments are really hard because he's starting to, at least from what I'm noticing, he will disassociate because of my daughter's behavioral issues. When something happens in the house, he'll start playing the game and just go completely like tune out, and he'll be overly attached to it. So we're like, been pulling away game time, but don't want to punish him with it. So we're like, we'll occupy him. So I'll play with him. I'll try to spend some time when I'm not, cooking or cleaning or taking care of, the other child, and try to give, equal amount of time, but it does affect him. And one thing I have to say with his teacher, because she met up with my wife, was even just in the beginning of the year, we've been having issues getting therapy for our son because they didn't even want to do it for our daughter, and she needs it.
In the school, you mean?
Not in the school necessarily, but like a school program that works towards it. My wife knows all the lingo. I am not logistic at all, but with him and my wife was like, I already submitted it. I put it in. It's just that they're not responding, and she goes, let it come from me. the teacher wasn't giving up on my son at all. She's like, I can't bribe him all the time. Like, I
Right.
can't give him a gold star or something, all the time. He needs to understand that this is, kind of his responsibility. Um, and she was like, let me say this is what this student needs, and one that flipped my wife's opinion on her. Um,
No, that's
but it
fantastic.
also, yeah, it was just like, this is kind of what I want. This teacher, I think, is a new teacher, so I think that's another thing too. Is I find a lot of
She's not
new
jaded
teachers.
yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of new
Yeah,
teachers um are like that, because you need a little bit of idealism in the world, because especially with teachers, because I feel, at least I'm afraid, that we're not going to have, and this is genuine, not because somebody wrote some kind of speech or it's just the valedictorian who did really great their entire school career, but those students that struggle, that have, like, issues with themselves, that find a teacher who's not necessarily like trying to be one of the fellow kids, but they inspire them to understand their worth.
sure. Yeah.
I have a teacher. I fully don't like. I had his email years and years ago, but he completely ghosted from the internet, and I hope that he's doing well. But he was a math teacher. I failed his class in college, in high school, my first senior year, because I had two senior years. He failed me. He was very strict about it, but it was mainly because he said, "Look, you are showing no effort." I'm self defeatist. That's just a thing I grew up with, having the type of parents I had. Um, my dad kind of being, he was around, he worked all the time, but we didn't have a close relationship until I was older. And my mother, unfortunately, having very narcissistic tendencies, made it very difficult for me to, it made it very easy for me to just defeat any idea or anything I ever wanted to do. I will self sabotage subconsciously. And so in math, I just self sabotage. I passed every class but math. He refused. Even if I tried my hardest near the final quarter, he was like, no.
It's not
Because
enough.
now you're just cramming at this point. You are not showing effort. I'm sorry. But he made sure that, one, I was his student again that senior year. And he made sure that I didn't only, even if I didn't understand the work, that was different. He wanted me to put the effort
Right.
in. And as I said, I'll never forget him for that. And a lot of people, you're like, I just want to thank this teacher. It's someone I can remember. I remember, and they were so cool. He wasn't cool. He was a nerdy, tall, skinny white dude.
But he knew his job.
But
He knew what
he
his
knew his
responsibility
job,
was.
and he said, this is a student that does want to do better, but just there's something there, and I'm not going to be a psychologist for them. I'm going to be a mentor for them. And that's what he did.
It's rare. I mean, I can think, how many teachers do you have over the course of your grade school? Is it grade school? K through 12? I guess that's all grade school, right?
I think, yeah, elementary grades. Yeah, maybe it is
Whatever.
grade school.
I mean, through that career, how many teachers do you have? You probably have a few dozen. And
Yeah.
similarly, I mean, I don't know if I can name one or two maybe that I felt really had an impact or cared enough to make sure, like, what we're talking about, that each student was getting what they needed and was going where they needed, and such. So I don't know.
I mean, I had a few cool teachers, but I've only had three teachers that I remember till this day that, went out of their way to make sure that I become a functional adult.
No,
So,
right. That's what I same thing. I definitely had quite a few teachers that were, cool teachers that people like
yeah.
wanted to be around because they were cool with the kids and they let you get away with some stuff. But there were only a couple that, I felt really impacted me that way. And, it's just like any other job. There are going to be those that feel one way about it and those that feel another. But it's rough, especially with, I don't know. The world's different today than it was when we were kids. So I could see how kids have a harder time
Oh yeah,
with their
absolutely.
day and
As I
just
said,
getting through it with all the things there are to worry about.
when the big C came, like that messed up every kid, like way too much. Like
Well,
every kid
both of
I've
our
noticed
daughters were
anyway.
starting kindergarten,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep, and yours
And I mean
i-
that's the
is more well
introduction.
adjusted than mine. Like,
But I mean that was their introduction to school, was this on the computer thing from home. So
yeah.
it's surprising. It's surprising that to your point, that my daughters did adjust as well as she did when it came time to go into the classroom. But even for our sons going into kindergarten, they both were in pre-K. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not the same. It's a
No, it's
much
not the
different
same.
environment, being this huge building with all of these other kids and
Get
all
on the
of these,
bus.
really, yeah, getting on the bus, these kind of routines that are built into their day and these rigid schedules they have to follow. It's a lot. And I can see it taking a couple weeks or a couple months for that to become, adaptable and for them to assimilate to, that type of day. So I don't know. And but to your point too, I mean, your daughter falling asleep in class, it could very easily be medication. I've been on so many medications in my life, and a lot of them made me very tired.
Yeah.
There's something else I wanted to talk about after that, briefly, and now I can't remember what it was. Of course.
Yeah. Anything to do with Brendan Fraser. Just
No, nothing to do with Brendan Fraser this time. Oh, what the hell was it? Something else that was top of my mind. I was like, oh, we should talk about that.
well, while you're thinking, even though I think this might derail you, after we recorded that episode, my fucking phone flooded with Brendan Fraser things because I guess it was listening to our conversation.
Oh my god. Yeah, you know, they say all the time that that's not true. Like, yeah, your phone's not listening and it doesn't. I can't tell you how many times I had an offhanded discussion with my wife about something, or just a comment, and then
Mhm.
the next day something popped up, or an ad popped up for something in my feed. Like, I like just randomly, I
It's
don't
like
know, just,
the
I need a new pair of slippers, and then the next day I'm seeing slipper ads online. It's fucking weird, dude.
it's
And
so
I
ridiculous.
mean, I do that stuff for a living, so I have an idea of the level of big brotherness that goes into it. But sometimes it even blows my mind how insane that shit gets. It's so frustrating.
So it's but that besides the Brendan Fraser thing, so I went on TikTok because I used to like Vine and I like really short form entertainment. And I opened it up and everybody's arguing about The Little Mermaid.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen that on Twitter. TikTok is the one social media platform I have yet to create, because I feel like I'm
Just
too
don't.
old. I
No,
just think
well,
I'm too
first,
old.
okay, so whatever content I make is seriously for just the voice acting stuff because I want to practice and I don't want to put too much commitment into it.
Right.
So I
I
just
get
kind
it.
of like follow that stuff.
Yeah,
And
the Little Mermaid argument though is unbelievable, and I think
unbelievable.
I saw a post. I saw somebody posted something about, on one of my Facebook friends, a positive comment like, "You're crazy if you're getting." And the only thing I could think to post was, "If you have a problem with it, you're racist. Period." There's just no other argument. There really isn't.
Well, here's the thing. So I've been watching the goalposts be moved a lot. Future episode incoming,
Oh yeah, yeah. We
and
definitely hit that up.
and so I've been watching like the goalposts move all over the freaking place, and like I've gotten to the point that it's been happening so frequently that I'm getting annoyed by even hearing about like it from other people because you know there's people going, well, I'm not racist, but she wouldn't
Yes, you are.
be because she wouldn't really be. Well, first of all, the bitch isn't real. Like she's
Yeah,
not
it's
real
a
at
fictional
all.
character. It's
She's
not
not real at
real.
all. But she wouldn't really have red hair. Again, not real. Why is
Yeah.
everybody so upset about this girl who one can sing? Oh my god. That was the one thing. If you're
I'm not
Ariel,
familiar
just
with
be
her.
able I'm not either, but you know what? She's an up and comer, which is fine. That's what we need. We need new celebrities. I don't want The Rock in everything.
Well,
But
that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about the Netflix series and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the new streaming HBO series and stuff. They a lot of times seem to bring in a lot of new actors and actresses. So it's not. I think when you bring in some of these actors that have been around for a long time, it does affect the way you view the character because you're
Yeah,
bringing in that person, that actor that you've heard him in real life or her in real life. All the characters and iconic characters they've played, it all comes into the
it's
role
all
with
just
that.
them.
Yeah,
The actor is no longer the character; they are just the actor playing the character. Which
right.
you can have those actors. Christopher Walken is one of those actors,
Well, I mean, The Rock
but
is one of those
well,
actors.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's enjoyable, fine, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't need that in everybody.
I mean,
Which is why, Mike, I'm sorry.
no, go
My
ahead.
complaint that I was going to bring up is everyone's bitching about the girl playing Ariel when I'm more upset about Melissa McCarthy playing Ursula. I am fucking furious
Wait, why are
about
you
her playing
furious?
Ursula. One, I'm just tired of Melissa McCarthy. I'm sorry. I She was funny, she was novel for a while. I liked her SNL skits, but
Well,
she's become again that one actor that is just them.
yeah,
That's what their characters are. Ursula is way too goddamn iconic to me, and mind you, this is my anecdotal evidence, my anecdotal experience, that she just could not touch what Ursula is. If Melissa McCarthy will fucking surprise me if she even has a hint of Divine, and I know Divine didn't play Ursula, it's just that Ursula was based on Divine.
right.
Which if we don't know who Divine was like this drag queen who did this really gross movie. I would never suggest anybody watch it. But it's the character. Like it's the sassy, like, what you would think a stereotypical drag queen would be like, but actually is a woman and an octopus. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever
But
she is.
yeah, Melissa McCarthy, one, better fucking be purple. Since we want to bitch about skin color. If she's not purple, I'm coming at everybody complaining about the skin color of Ariel.
I saw a video of a guy online talking about what's her name, Holly Bailey, right?
Holly Bailey. Yep,
Yeah,
that's why I don't say her name because it's too close to Holly Berry.
yeah. I mean, every time I see it in my feed, I think it's Holly Berry until I
Yeah.
read it again. And go, oh yeah, because my brain just connects the letters, or creates the letters for me. But
Yeah.
the guy was complaining, saying that any deep sea creature wouldn't have a skin tone that dark because they're under the water that deep and it's super dark, and the fish down there have like translucent pale skin, so it doesn't make any sense. And it's just, why do you care enough to make a scientific argument about a fictional fairy tale character?
That was my thing. Like I was looking at it, I was like, okay, first of all, she wouldn't have skin, she would have scales. If she's a deep sea creature,
Right,
she would have
but
probably
she's
very
not.
small scales, which could be brown based on the coral or whatever else is down there. But let's not even go there
Yeah,
because
you don't have to go there.
she would be a monstrosity. She technically is. We're talking about this bitch singing high notes under the water. Okay.
Yeah, as far
So
as I know, sound doesn't travel well underwater.
we're not mad about what's his name from Old Country for No Country for Old Men.
Javier Bardem.
Yeah, he's King Triton.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, dope casting. Nobody's bitching about that. We have Aquafina as a gender bent Scuttle.
I fucking love Aquafina. She's
Nobody
fantastic.
is. I like Aquafina, but I have there's some
I like her.
complaints about her that I agree with. But
there are
everybody's
definitely
problematic.
no, agreed. There are definitely some problematic things, but overall, I just, when she's in a movie,
Aquafina
I
is
enjoy her
entertaining.
character.
She is entertaining. Like she's really, for me, the only reason why I like Shang-Chi. Believe it or not, I don't really like that movie, but I like.
I get it. No, I get it.
But we don't want to we want to just pick and choose. Everyone's picking and choosing, and then there's people now that are spreading this even further. There's people of, again, the white racial line complaining about these like Disney's reimagining the interpretation of of The Little Mermaid. It was like, but you weren't mad about that when you watched the cartoon.
Yeah.
You probably never even watched the cartoon. You're just mad because you have a pedestal online, and so you could just say it without actually saying you're racist. here's the thing: you are proving your racism by trying to separate it from having a racial bend to your argument. You clearly know there's something wrong with your point of view.
Yeah,
You
agreed.
know it, but you're digging your heels so goddamn deep because you want to believe so bad that Santa Claus exists that you're just gonna deny any evidence
All right,
of anything else.
here's my take on it. I think it's all the middle-aged white guys who, when they were younger, when Little Mermaid came out, really wanted to fuck Ariel, and they were super excited
Oh my
that she was going to be
God.
personified by an actual actress, and they're like, "But she's not white." They got really mad because they were so excited there was going to be an actress playing Ariel, and then they were like just really upset that she wasn't white.
I'm going to tell on myself here. As a kid, I was a Disney kid, and I
Most
grew
kids,
up.
I mean,
Well, most of us
people
are.
our age were,
Yeah.
or are, yeah.
But I literally, the two movies I watched on repeat was Cinderella and Little Mermaid. And there was no like sexual bend to it or anything. It literally
Yeah,
was. I just
liked
liked those movies. The music
Sure.
just hit me. Dumbo was way too scary for me.
Dumbo's fucking terrifying. Those pink elephants. I had nightmares about them for weeks.
Yeah. Oh, same here. Same here. I had a sing-along video that the Disney sing-along on VHS, and the Pink Elephant song was on it. I couldn't watch it. It was so fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. You know, Pinocchio scared me too. There was some when the little boy
he was turned into the donkey.
That was terrifying. The whale. I mean,
I love those moments, but God,
one of my biggest fears is the ocean. So the whole whale scene was just terrifying in general too. But
no,
I don't know.
I'm absolutely afraid of the ocean, so I get it.
It's just one of those things where it's just ridiculous because, like I said, I mean, there's just no valid argument to complain about it unless you're right. It's a racial thing. There's just no other reason.
Like, so I grew up watching those things, so I have a direct attachment to Little Mermaid. Not like I'm going to go out of my way to watch the movie because I'm an adult. I have an adult brain now, and I just don't really care. But what I do care about is that we're losing the plot here. Because again, now there's people complaining about, Disney's just using us as in black people, to perpetuate and make their money. Guess what? We live in a capitalistic society. Everything uses everything.
Yeah.
Our ancestry, not necessarily in Africa, our ancestry is being commodified. We were literally a product to be made and sold. So that's never changed. So say that for everything. Don't say, yay, Black Panther, black people. First of all, they're not black, they're African. But Black Panther, same goddamn thing. So keep that energy for anything in the entertainment industry. Anything. Because entertainment, especially that involves Hollywood, is exploitative. You either accept it for what it is and try to have better conditions, or don't. I'm celebrating the people who put their fucking blood, sweat, and tears into this movie. That's what matters. Good movie or bad movie, I don't care. As long as it's not dangerous for people, I am celebrating the people who worked on it. The rich are going to get rich no matter what until we change society altogether.
Right, so that kind of makes the point moot.
Yeah. So either you're going to keep that energy for everything, or you're going to be a disingenuous piece of shit on that side. Sure. On the other side, they know they're disingenuous pieces of shit. So they're just going to rattle off and double down and never consider the Danish tale or the fact that Disney, and people knew this since the beginning of time, that Disney always remade fairy tales because they were in the public domain. It was easy. They didn't have to put money towards anything else but recreating the story.
Well, yeah, I mean, but when it comes down to it in general, again, the first thing we said, it's a fictional character. You can imagine however you want. We're not talking about casting an Asian woman as Amelia Earhart. There's no real Ariel Little Mermaid. So it can be whatever you decide to make it. The whole story can be whatever you decide to make it if you want to twist it. It's not it's not based on real events.
It's not based on real events at all. And that's why I get super upset when people bring up, blackwashing, whitewashing, or whatever, which I get it. I do get it when it's based on real people. But when they do I'm gonna use this as an example. If they did a biopic on Barack Obama, if they did a biopic on Barack Obama, who should play Barack Obama? A really tan white guy or a black person?
I don't know.
Think about it.
I don't
He's
know.
biracial. People say
Yeah,
he's the first black president. He's biracial. You don't know.
I
So
don't know.
why can't we just accept that maybe there's just a really good actor who might be white, who might just be able to be him? There could be a black actor. We have Jordan Peele as one, and a bunch of impersonators online who can do it. Or get a biracial actor. But stop fucking cherry picking your arguments. In that your arguments, your political or your racial arguments. You either accept it or not.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, we've had offline discussions about that before, but
Yeah.
one of the ones that I laughed about was that cartoon Central Park, not Central Park. That's the coffee shop in Friends.
Okay, at first I thought you said Central Pork. I was like, what the fuck? Oh, you know what? I saw
No.
I saw a trailer on Hulu, but I never watched it. I think it was on Hulu.
Well, so for that show, they did a season, and again, I may have all these facts wrong. I may have the actors wrong. I may have the show wrong. But if I'm remembering correctly, the way I understood it was Kristen. So the children were biracial in the show. Kristen Bell did one of the characters' voices, and I want to say Titus Andromedon did the other one.
Okay.
And Kristen Bell dropped out of the cast because people were upset that she was performing the voiceover work for a biracial character. But nobody cared that Titus Andromedon, a black man, was doing a biracial character. So, I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
No, you see the weird double standard. It's disingenuous for stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I didn't care
that
Cleveland's actor was a white guy. I really didn't care. Because guess what? Phil Lamar has been doing that shit for years in reverse. And no offense, I love Phil Lamar. Sure. He's one of my favorite actors / voice actors. But he is the iconic voice for Samurai Jack. When I found that out, I was just like, oh, that's really cool. And that was it.
Well, we didn't used to care about this stuff. I mean, it never used to be an issue.
It just fucking matter.
No, it's just to the point now where it's just so easy for one person to get outraged about it. It's all virtue signaling online. I mean, one person gets upset about it, and then a bunch of other people go, "Oh yeah, I can act outraged about that too," and demonstrate how woke I am and how,
or how unwoke I am, or whatever.
Or unwoke. Yeah, it cuts both ways. It absolutely does.
I'm sorry. This is not a story. It's just funny that you said the how woke I am, because one of the funnier fucking statements I heard or saw was somebody saying, they just shouldn't have made the Little Mermaid woke. Disney only hired her to make her woke. Wake up, people. They ended the sentence with wake up, people.
With wake up, people. I mean, that's not...
I was like, did you not... Please tell me you meant that. Sorry, I think I peeked. Please tell me you meant that. There's no way.
That's not unexpected, though. People are so fucking stupid. They don't even understand or realize when they're making an ironic... I don't know if ironic's the right word, but an ironic statement like that just... Did you realize what you're saying? I don't know. It's just such a mess. It's just... There's always something. There's always something somebody's going to bitch about.
And I got really oh god damn.
I was really
matters.
I was really irritated the other day because I got a mailer. It was funny. I got 2 mailers in the mail for the congressperson running for my district for New York State.
Okay.
One positive and one negative. And the negative one was him standing with a bunch of what do you call them? Picket signs, the signs on a stick behind him. 3 of which were quotes, and then under the quotes it said, heard at a rally in, I think, Ulster County, New York or something. So they had this picture of him with quotes behind him that were not quotes attributed to him. They were apparently said at a rally somewhere in Kingston. And it was like, fuck the pigs or something, like meaning police. And
so it's supposed to be like subliminal. Like you're supposed to see that and associate that with him. Well, even though he never said it.
I used to do political marketing, and one of the things we always talked about with mailers was you have to design the mailer in such a way that you understand you have the 3 seconds it takes the person to get it out of their mailbox and throw it in the garbage. Like, that's the time you have to get your message across. That's it. So it has to be intentionally by design to be misrepresentative of this guy having said these really just anti-police things, just straight up anti-police things. And a friend of mine who's in local politics messaged me last night and said, hey, just so you know, those things were said. He was at that protest. And, because he was at that protest, it's guilt by association. If he's there at that protest and these people are saying these things, then it reflects on him. I was like, okay, but if I put up, let's talk about the GOP. Who are two of their bases? White supremacists and super religious groups.
Evangelicals.
Right? Evangelicals. There you go.
Yep.
So if
I was,
you couldn't put a picture of a GOP candidate up there with,
bunch of dudes in white hoods.
And like, fuck, whatever, pick a slur behind them. People would fucking flip out. And it's like, well, guilt by association, right? I mean, that's their base. They're part of their party. And
like,
I don't know. It's just such a double standard.
No, you're absolutely, you are 100% on the money with that, because again, there's something wrong with your opinion, but you're not willing to accept that there's something wrong. It's those people love to quote what's it called, the George Orwell's 1984. Thank you.
Was that Orwell? No, that was
George Orwell.
No, Orwell's Animal Farm. I thought 1984 was oh my god, who wrote Fahrenheit 451?
I think same person. Hold on.
Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut.
George Orwell wrote 1984.
Oh, he did?
I
totally had that. I totally had that wrong. Sorry. Well, I'm a fucking idiot. And I just proved it to everybody.
But Orwell wrote that, and those people love to quote Orwell with, the 10 seconds of hate or something like that, 4 seconds of hate. I have a vague understanding of it. I more so understand the themes than the book itself. It's been a really long time, and my ability to recall is also dependent on my brain damage. But there's people like, Ben Shapiro and stuff like that. They quote the book, and I bet that they've read it. I bet that they understand it. I bet that they also misconstrue a lot of those things, because that mentality, that, like when, Trump said, there's a lot of good people during, when there was the KKK rally where people got hit with a car, and went, well, there's good people among them. But you literally are displaying double think.
Yeah.
Like, those people who believe that, they are literally displaying it, because you're supposed to be able to say something contradictory and be perfectly okay with it, and even if your evidence is contradictory, you still can double down. And the fact that you're openly not seeing it just shows that you self-brainwashed and you're okay with that.
It's not just okay with it, it's almost happy about it. Like,
proud. It's like a pride.
Proud of it. It's, I don't know, it really bothered me, because like I said, I used to do work on political campaigns. I mean, it's probably been almost 10 years now since I was doing political work, but myself specifically, but even the people I worked with, we were very careful not to misrepresent something like that. I mean, I would do things I could, if there was say there was a specific issue and my candidate had come out and said this about it, and the other candidate just didn't make a statement about it, I would put that as our information. Like, here's our candidate's platform. The other candidate didn't even bother to comment. But as far as taking things, like, I don't know how I never would have thought to make a leap like that and say, okay, well, he was at this protest and there were people at this protest that said this specific thing, so I'm going to put it on a flyer behind him and make it 100% appear that these are things that he said. I don't know.
Endorses.
Or he completely endorses, which I guarantee you, and this guy's a vet, this particular guy, there's no way he endorses these things. It's just not likely. I don't know. It's just, it made me think more about how much the world has changed in the last 5, 6, 7 years.
I've been thinking that the world isn't necessarily changed. It's more so that we've become more ourselves, if that makes sense.
No, that, like, I knew what you were going to say before you said it there. I did.
Like we tried hiding it, but we're just kind of done.
Well,
And
did you see
not I mean collectively, like not like we're actively doing it, but like just like the lies. Yeah, we know we're being lied to, and that's okay because that lie makes me comfortable.
did you see in the news, I think it was yesterday or the day before, the Trump rally in Ohio, and they had all the people in the audience not quite doing the Hitler salute with their hand in the air, but their hand in the air in the same position, but pointing a finger, and that's
Mm.
apparently the new MAGA salute. And it's
But
just you can't not see the clear the clear association you're making with an actual Nazi salute. You
don't
can't not see it.
I don't give a shit if I don't give a fuck if they did a moonwalk. There shouldn't be a goddamn
A salute.
salute.
Well, I mean, I think back, and we may have talked about this previously. The idea. Could you imagine people putting flags up with their president's name on it in their yard at one point? Like nobody would have done that. You wouldn't see somebody with an Obama or a
We
Bush
still have a guy
flag.
in our area who does it.
Oh,
We still have the signs
there's
going up.
quite a
Like
few in our area that
the,
I saw a truck go by. It was like a salvage truck, one of those trucks with the big bed with the
I
guardrails on the
bet you it's
sides.
the same guy. I
Said
bet
Buck
you it is the
Fiden.
same guy. Yep.
Painted on the truck said Buck Fiden. And
It's
I
like,
was just like,
good.
you're
You know
driving
what?
around like that.
You know what? Fuck him. You are absolutely right. But your guy is just as bad, if not worse.
It's not even. I mean, you're right, but just the idea of painting that on the side of my vehicle is insane
Oh yeah,
to
you
me.
know what? You're right. You are absolutely right.
It's just crazy.
Painted is something like self-vandalized. Just
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
you're
I don't
so
get it.
married. You're so married to your ideals. Like I just.
But presidents
Oh my
are supposed
god.
to come and go, right? There's supposed to be a
Yeah.
guy that comes in. We have an election. We vote for him. He's around for 4 or 8 years. He goes away, and it's
Yeah. Things
over.
work. Things
And
don't work.
yeah, then
Yeah.
they're in the past. Like putting up flags in your yard, wearing T-shirts for a president is crazy. It's just
It,
crazy. It's not. It's no longer just a presidential candidate. It's a
it's an
lifestyle, like you
idol.
said. It's an
Yeah. It's an
ideal. It's
absolute
an
idol.
idol. It's crazy.
And you
Um,
don't like how pathetic are you to be into idol worship? How fucking pathetic are you?
well, that's another topic we're going to cover, right?
Yeah, I think that is.
That's also on our list. Celebrity
I
idol
gotta pull
worship.
back.
We've got so many topics to get through over the next year, however long it takes to get through the list we have now, and then some. But yeah, so I guess we could get into our and this is funny because it's going to tie into Law and Order again, just like the last
Oh,
episode.
great.
Our topic this week, and I don't have a good name for it, so we're going to call them God Has a Planners. And those are those people that feel like God has a plan is the answer for every tragedy or every misguided problem that comes up. I was watching an episode of Law and Order a couple days ago. As I mentioned, I've been working my way through the catalog, and it was about a woman that was killed in a fertilization clinic, and then one of the detectives, it was a bizarre story where a man's second wife technically owned the embryos that he made with his first wife, and she wanted to have the baby, and the first wife didn't want her to. I don't know, but the point was, one of the detectives said, the things they're doing in there, making babies in a test tube, I don't think it's the right thing to do. And the lieutenant said, hey, my sister wasn't able to have a baby and she did in vitro, and now she has a beautiful, healthy baby boy or something. And he said, well, maybe God's plan isn't for everybody to have a kid or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's going to be our next topic we're going to talk about.
That made my stomach hurt.
Yeah, it's just, I don't understand. There's a lot of things I don't understand in life, but I don't understand how anybody can think that that's a good, and it's used as a way to, in most situations, as a means of comfort, right? It's somebody, you just lost somebody, or you just had a tragedy occur, and it's, don't worry, God has a plan.
See, I'm going to get real cynical. As soon as you're done, I'm going to get real
Please
cynical.
do. No, go ahead. Get real cynical.
So I feel that statement is for people who don't know anything else to say. Like you're saying, like they don't know what to say. They can't help. They can't do anything. But they don't want to betray their religion. So they say some shit like that. What they don't realize is that they're taking away the autonomy of God. if they believe in God so much, those are the same people that feel like they have to defend God's honor. You mean to tell me your God is omniscient, all powerful, all good, but you, as an individual, feel like you have to defend God's honor whenever somebody doesn't believe in God or says something blasphemous or does something evil or has something evil done upon them. You mean to fucking tell me that you took God saying he put a piece of himself in everyone, fucking literally, to the point that you essentially are speaking for God? Kiss my fucking ass.
Well, I didn't actually think of it that way, but you're right. That's essentially what they're doing, right? I mean, if you're going to somebody that's just lost someone or something terrible's happened, saying, God has a plan. I guess that's exactly what you are doing. You're trying to speak for God to say, like, hey, this was supposed to happen to you, which in and of itself is a fucked up thing. I mean, if you just take it for what it means and went up to somebody and said, oh, your sister just passed away. Well, God wants that to happen. God wanted that to happen. So it is what it is. Like,
Yeah,
be comforted in that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, wait, first of all, you're going to turn that person into someone who hates God. If that's
Absolutely. In a lot of cases.
And then they'll try to fix it by, no, because they have a variant of that statement going, well, no, they've gone into the kingdom of heaven. They've gone to God. God has them. Yes, but they left behind pain for me and my family. For all the people that love this person, you left pain behind. So I'm sorry, if God took a tsunami and fucking wiped out a whole bunch of people, there's a lot of pain behind that.
Yes, there is.
And if that is the case, then anything we do is of God's plan too. So fucking dropping bombs on people, killing people overseas, fucking somebody sneaking into somebody's house, raping and killing everyone in that fucking house is also a part of God. But no, we're going to split the hair there. No, that's humans. We have free will. No, which one is it, motherfucker? Is it that we are victims of God, or we are a part of God and this is just how the fucking cycle goes? You don't get to play chess and decide which move is made.
In which situation. Yeah, no, that's one of the things.
Oh my God.
That's one of the things that drives me the most crazy, because everybody has that argument, God made us in his image. God made all of us. God made everything. And if that's the case, then why is hell a thing in some religions? Because if I'm a serial killer and I go out and I kill a bunch of people, well, God made me that way. How can I be held responsible for my actions?
I didn't think it was a movie that, actually, no, it was actually a really shitty game. There's a game, I don't suggest anybody ever play it, called Anonymous Agony. Is made by this dirtbag, but there's a villain who is so cartoonishly funny, but he makes a statement going, he thinks he's God. They say he literally thinks he's Jesus, which is silly all in itself. But when the main character says, you're going to hell, he goes, no, you're going to die. He goes, I'm just going to be with my father. Like, he took comfort in that. There are fucking psychopaths who take comfort in that. When we do stereotypes and movies about the Crusades, those fucking crusaders who are raping and pillaging are saying exactly that. God will take care of me. It's cool.
Yep.
And what I find so funny is that it's also those super religious, usually Southern, who hate Muslims, but have the exact same fucking mindset.
Oh, same ideology,
just for
when
a
it comes down
different
to
religion.
it.
Yeah, same ideology.
Absolutely.
Completely the same. And I'm talking about extremists, not the people who, as upset as I'm getting, I am not necessarily against religion. It's not for me. That's fine. But I am highly against religious hypocrisy, because that is how you get religious extremism.
That is a good point.
And there's no good that comes out of religious extremism. Just none.
I feel exactly the same way. I think atheism in America gets a bad rap a lot of the time because of the outspoken atheists that are very anti-religion and are really take the stance that if you are religious or if you believe in God, you are a moron. And I'm not okay with that.
And those guys are a religion. Let's be real here.
But I agree with you.
They are a religion.
Well, the problem is they kind of take this stance that God is there. They make weird arguments like, okay, well, do you need a God to make you a moral person? Like you need to
Hmm.
have God and these rules to make you a moral person? I don't think it's that. I think it's a crutch. I mean, it's a crutch to get through life, right? It makes people feel better about
Yeah.
tragedy. It makes them feel better about dying. It makes them feel like somebody's out there looking out for them. And that's all well and good. I don't have a problem with that. If it makes you happy, if it makes you feel comforted, that's totally cool. But it's interesting that you said that saying things like that will make you hate God, because I became okay. I'm going to tell the story of why I became an atheist. When I was 20, maybe 20 or so, I had a friend who she had brain cancer,
Okay.
and she got treatment. She went into remission. It was all good. I didn't talk to her for quite some time. We chatted on, it was so long ago, AOL Instant Messenger. We catch up once in a while. And I remember, I think it was around, I'm trying to remember the movie. I feel like it was Spider-Man 2 or something like that. I don't remember. But I remember I was talking to her one night, and I said, like, hey, we haven't seen each other in forever. Why don't we go like catch a movie or something just to hang out? I haven't seen you in forever. And she said, that sounds great. I just have to go to the doctor tomorrow. I've been having some problems with my eye. My dad's worried. He just wants to get checked out. And then the next night, I aimed her. Aimed? Is that what you? I instant messenger. I don't remember what the
Yeah,
verb was. I instant
because it
messaged
doesn't
her.
exist anymore. Yeah, you messaged her.
Yeah, and I said, hey, I said like, hey, what's going on? How'd everything go? You still want to go catch a movie or something tonight? And her mother wrote me back and said she's in the hospital. Her brain cancer's back. She's got less than a week to live. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't grasp my head around the concept, because she was a just a good, sweet, simple person. Not simple is a bad word. Simple, not simple like simple
Not
minded. Just
simple minded. Not
just
yeah. No,
simple.
she just
It
likes she
She
took
was a
comfort
good,
in the simplicities in life.
yes, she was just a good person. There was just not a bad thing about her. And that's when I decided, I just thought, if God could take somebody's life like that, that's just getting started, just getting ready to start a career, going to school, and just snuff it out, there can't possibly be a God. No benevolent, good God would do that. And that's it. That was it. I said, there's just no way. It's not possible. But to your point, that's it. I guess it didn't make me hate God. It just made me go, nah, there's no way.
No, it just
Just can't be.
see. I do believe in a God. I do. I really do. I'm agnostic at best. I don't presume to think I understand what the fuck God is.
Well, I know that that's a little,
And
it's a little, I don't know. It's kind of
um
silly of me to assume, you know, and what do they say? You can't really prove a negative. I know me saying that a negative is true. I understand there's a
well,
little bit of vainness in that vein, I guess, vanity
well,
in
no,
that.
look, vanity is a part of the human experience. So you know what? Vanity in control isn't a bad thing. That's why I kind of like, certain rappers. Like their whole basis is being vain, but
Their
in real life
persona.
they're
Yeah.
not actually like that.
Right.
Like it's it makes competition fun. So
Sure.
getting
No,
into
I
that,
agree.
just vanity like that. So people who that's why I don't hate religion itself, but I do have a personal disdain for religious people. Um and again, I'm agnostic, so I don't like to presume what I know God is. What God is. I had questions. Mainly, I think I might be. I do think I should get evaluated on having some type of Asperger's or something. Because even as a kid, I would be really confused as to God not doing certain things according to the Bible. So, because I grew up a Pentecostal, which I and Southern Baptist at one point. And my parents, have me read the Bible every night, and my mom would minister because she was a minister. My dad was a deacon. I would have to go to church every Sunday, so that means I had one day in the weekend, and then I would be at church all day on
All
Sunday.
day. Oof.
Mm-hmm. My best friend, my next door neighbor, who was my best friend, his dad was on his way to become a pastor, which he did. He became a very successful pastor in that regard. His wife was super religious. They were all religious. They played in the church band, but they were also super egotistical, which was something I noticed kind of was like a theme among the people I met. They're whenever they became, part of the pulpit or, part of the choir, that ego would just kick in.
Well, I mean, isn't the word they typically use to describe themselves as being righteous?
Yeah.
So I
but
mean,
it's always self-righteous.
well, there's got to be some ego related when you're,
Yeah.
So
So no, yeah. So, but what I would find things that just didn't make sense. Like, God essentially was supposed to be infallible because they would say that in church. Not I never read, maybe I missed it because I'm not a scholar or anything. I missed it in the Bible that God said, I don't, I'm never wrong. But in the church, they would say that God isn't wrong, God is infallible, blah 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 blah. And I've been to like 5 different churches of different denominations from, because I would hang out with friends who were also religious because that's what I thought life was.
mhm.
And that would always be a theme too. But then it was like, then why did God flood everything? That doesn't make sense. Because that means he was wrong for making us and had to fix the problem. That doesn't okay. Well, God's everywhere. Why can't he just stop him from killing him? Why? This doesn't make sense. And the answer I would get was, well, God gave man free will. But he's like, but he didn't give man all power. And why is the devil equal to God? Because everybody fears the devil in equal measure. And the devil's always at fault for everything. Why do we have a boogeyman? Because it just doesn't make sense. God could just go, oh, well, poof, you're gone. Like, that's essentially what they're saying. So I don't understand. And I never thought God was good because I read the Bible. God did some fucked up shit and said some fucked up shit. So God
Absolutely.
isn't all good at all. And if those things are good, then why would I want to be on his team? That just doesn't make sense to me. Now, mind you, this is me growing up. This isn't like I was just a baby and thought all these things. Like,
Sure.
this
No, I
was
get
as
it.
time went on. And I was just always so confused and given really weak answers. Somebody gave me the parachute analogy, and I wish I had the 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 eloquence to express
Yeah, I'm not
myself
familiar.
then. The parachute analogy is relating to religion. If you're on a plane and the plane is going down, would you grab a parachute? Like, yeah, I would grab a parachute, to jump out. Well,
Sure.
that's going to God. I was like, oh, so should my only reason to go to God wouldn't be out of love and out of actual devotion, but actually just to save my own ass when I
Out of
die?
need. Yeah, out of need.
Like, if that's your your metric as to why you're going to God, then it's disingenuous. Is that because then I'm going, I love you, God, I love you. No, you don't. You just giving yourself Stockholm syndrome. You don't actually love God. What the fuck are you talking about? And I would rather fully and genuinely feel for something. And I feel like if I was this all-knowing creator, if I had feelings, because if I was all-knowing and had the ability to create things, I'd probably be just this fucking blank automaton. But if I did, I would want whatever I want my goddamn pet to like me. And I dictate if my pet lives or dies, essentially.
You
I
do.
essentially have that power over my pet. Not saying I would do or hurt my pet or anything like that. But I'm
No,
saying
but
I have
your
that
point is
power,
valid.
but I
Yeah.
want my pet to like me. I essentially control everything in this animal's life. But I do what I can to make sure it loves me. Or at least to what I believe it loves me. It trusts me. But in the Bible, God's just saying, nah, nigga, you just have to do it. I'm sorry, I just imagine God is this really just like this angry hood dude sometimes. It's just like, but no, he's just like, no, you just need to love me. That's what. No, because I said so. That's why. So I'm in this abusive relationship. I was created by something that I didn't. It's like being raised by an abusive parent. You created me. You could take me out, then fucking do it because you're just putting me through pain all the goddamn time.
All very good points. Very good
So
points.
So for me, I feel like if God is anything, God is very similar to God in fucking Futurama, if anything. Let's just like may do some good things, but ultimately it's just a creator. It creates things and it moves on. Because I just feel like life is way too goddamn weird for there just not for it to be just pure chaos. But in that same respect, pure chaos works like that. So for me personally, I feel like there is something, but I don't know what it is. I don't want to know what it is, to be honest, because what would I do with that knowledge?
Nothing. I mean, it would probably drive you insane
Yeah,
if
I,
there was that knowledge to
I,
have.
I, I still need to eat, sleep, shit, and cry. Like those are the same things I need to
Yeah,
do.
nothing would really
So,
change. I guess wouldn't make much of a difference. I don't know. I don't. I'm having trouble lately seeing the applications of religion this day and age. It just how it helps. It made sense thousands of years ago when people needed explanations for things and they needed to
mhm,
understand why things were happening. But it just seems like in this day and age, all it does is create trouble and create issues instead of solving problems or solving it. Not, I mean, technically they weren't actually solving, but explaining. It seems like it doesn't do that anymore. It doesn't explain anything anymore. It just tries to take away the
it
explanations.
like
And
creates more discourse.
yeah, it creates more discourse if it does anything. Um, but it's hearing you talk about how you what you thought about growing up. It kind of makes me feel good because I worry sometimes. Well, obviously, my wife goes to church. She sings in the church
Hmm.
choir. I have no problem with that. My daughter's been going to church with her since she was like 3 years old now. So she's been going to church with her for probably 4, maybe even 5 years, singing in the choir. And my daughter's very curious about religious stuff. She asks questions about God and about heaven. And
Hmm.
I usually tell her I'm not the person to answer those questions. I mean, I've had discussions with her and explained that there are many different religions and people believe different things. And but she did CCD last year technically, but my wife did it at home with her because I guess that was
Okay.
offered. But as of this year, she had to go and she has to do it in person. I guess for communion, she has to actually go and do it in person. I don't know. I struggle with it because it is indoctrination to me, and
It is.
indoctrination has a negative connotation, but indoctrination is literally just you're going to believe it without questioning it, right? And that is
Mhm.
what faith is. You're going to believe it without questioning it. It's
And
the same thing.
that's why you can't argue with a religious person.
Right.
You
Because
can't
you're
have a disagreement with a religious
no,
person.
you can't because you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to
Yeah.
think critically. You're supposed to just believe.
Yep.
So I've worried about that quite a bit. And I don't know why. I mean, what's the worst that can really happen, I guess?
Well,
But
here's the thing.
it is comforting for me to know that like as you were growing up and going through it, you were questioning things and thinking critically. So and it just makes me feel like good. I hope she's that way. I hope she thinks that way too.
Well,
And comes to
I'll
her own
give it to you.
conclusions.
I'll give it to your daughter. She does tend to like to fall into the group, but
She
she
does.
also is, very curious about everything.
She is. Yes.
And in that regard, here's my thing with every child, because this is again, I had parents who did not want me to be anything else. My dad did a lot of growing, unfortunately, unlike my mom. And my dad, I think we had this conversation. I was in the army, so I was in my mid 20s. We finally had this conversation. And I'm like, Dad, I'm not, Christian. I can't believe in it. And I told him what being agnostic is, and it's just a name. I didn't have a name for it before, and I just found a name that kind of fit closely to it. So even if I don't fit agnosticism
Well, it's hard to fit so
hundred
rigidly
percent,
into a
yeah,
label, right?
yeah, but it's just a better one that people go, oh, okay, I kind of get where you're
Right.
going.
Yep.
And I explained to him what my feelings are. He was like, look, your journey is yours. You're an adult. I'm happy you're thinking critically. I feel like you need to have faith, but ultimately I feel like you'll do the best for you, and God will do what he can
God
to.
has a plan.
God has a plan, right? And I was like, okay. Now, mind you, that was when I was in the army.
Hmm.
With my mother, I was 19, and I didn't even say what I was. I told her, I don't think I'm Christian. Her instant reaction would go, yes, you are. That was it. That was the conversation. Yes, you are. And I don't know if it was like a mix of fear of her baby going to hell, or it was pride
Yeah,
or
probably
whatever.
a mixture of things. Yeah.
Probably a mixture, but that was her reaction. And she, flipped out about it. And so years later, my dad and I are having a religious based conversation. And he literally said, what works for me works for me. What works for you works for you. That was it.
Well,
He's like, I respect.
I can't think of a wiser statement in regards to religion. I really can't.
And my dad is, I think, in his early 60s. And everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey happens in different ways. And mind you, people keep acting like the journey is like you 100% at all your missions all the way up to the age you are now. No, you didn't. You probably got 20% here, 5% here, 12% here, 60% in this category. Like it's all over the fucking place.
Yeah, you don't complete all the side missions in life.
You just don't.
You just don't.
And you don't even remember half the missions you did. Like, you don't have a list telling you everything you did. You have your faulty fucking memory. And it took him 60 some odd years, of going through what he went through, his experiences, growing up to go to this point going, you are an adult. And I learned, and it took me a long time, I learned that I had to treat you as such. And I feel like for your daughter, that when the time comes, that is what you have to say to her. Even as a teenager, because some teenagers are there, is like, you know what? That means more to a child, to not a child, but you know what I mean. It means more to a child than any cloud daddy could mean to them. For the parent, who is their first God, no matter what, their parents are their first God. Tell them, you know what, you have my respect, and I feel that you can make a good choice for yourself. Just make sure you don't hurt anybody else. Respect other people, love other people, but no matter what, I respect your decisions.
Man,
even if I don't agree with it. Sorry.
Couldn't the world be fucking awesome if just everybody could feel that way and think that way? How great would it be?
A lot of mental maturity, people aren't there.
No, I mean, 90% of the population isn't there, probably myself included.
We're not always going to be there. I'm saying this now because I'm cool and calm and collected at this moment, and I had a really rough night. But, it depends. It depends on the moment. It depends on where your head is at. And it's, it's this topic, like the God has a plan, people. I know what the sentiment is, and I know you are trying. I've said it to my more religious friends to make them feel better.
Well, that's different.
But I feel gross saying it.
No,
I feel disgusting.
I would feel gross saying it too, but that's different because
it comforts them.
It comforts, right? You're playing into what's going to comfort them. So it makes sense in that aspect. But I see it all the time. I see social media posts. Somebody has a tragedy occur, and I don't understand that. I see so many people post about their tragedies on Facebook, and I guess it's to get that comfort and get that. I mean, I had a Facebook friend post the other day about like how all this horrible stuff happened, and she really spelled out like, here's all these horrible things that happened to me this week. And I don't know, me personally, when stuff like that happens, I keep it to myself. I want it, I hold it in. But I get it, wanting that outpouring of support. But I see people say stuff like that, like, oh, God has a plan. And I mean, I don't know. God forbid the next time I lose. I say God forbid. I don't believe God, but I say God forbid. I say Jesus Christ a lot too.
Well, I mean, terms are just. Like,
it's just vernacular.
Yeah, it's just what terms are. Like we just say it because I get what you're saying. So even if you don't believe in God, you don't need to change your whole like vocabulary to going non-existent deity, like
flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, you don't. Because. Like, we get it, because God also isn't a name, it's a title.
This is true.
So, literally, you could be talking about fucking Zeus. Like, it doesn't matter.
This is true, very true. But yeah, I mean, God forbid the next time something, there's some major tragedy in my life. I just think about that. If when somebody says something like that to me, it's infuriating. I feel like it invalidates everything I'm feeling. Like, you're not allowed to be upset. You're not allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to feel that way because it's what's supposed to happen. It's the way it's supposed to go.
But also to your point that you made earlier about why you don't find like there's much of a reason for religion to really exist now. That is literally the only reason why religion exists, in my opinion,
Comfort.
because that comfort. It is very comfortable to have something you can believe in. Again, I always use the Santa Claus analogy, but it's apropos. Like it's always you need something. Even as an adult, we all think fun ends and make believe ends when you're no longer a child. That shit is not true at all.
No, not by a long
Me,
shot.
when my son pulls out his lightsaber, you better fucking believe that I'm. Well, he's usually Darth Vader, so I'm whatever character he wants me to be, and
It
I
tells
play
you.
with him. And we all like pretend like you got to understand that that's healthy. Now,
Oh, it
do you
is.
destroy the illusion? No. Hell, if I didn't have responsibilities, I'd probably go LARPing. Yeah, I'm a fucking nerd. I don't give a shit. It's make
I
believe that helps me feel better. We care about movies. That shit is make believe. Again, to the beginning of this episode, people are arguing over the Little Mermaid. That bitch is sitting in a fucking tube in front of a green screen. It's
it
not
it
real.
it is literally dominating online debate right now, and it's completely fucking fictional. So no, that
Yes.
makes sense. It was well, I was saying, I was just actually talking about early in the podcast. My son was playing with his stuffed animals and making them houses, and my mom stopped by yesterday while the kids were at school right before they got home, and I said, I got to clean this up. We kind of made this mess in here a couple of days ago to make them a house, and she was like, Matthew, that's exactly the way you were when you were a kid. You did the same exact type of stuff. And I just kind of got nostalgic for a moment. It's like, man, those were good times to just make pretend and make things up and make the world the way I wanted it to be. And you're right. Why can't we do that more often? Why can't we go and, or what's wrong with that? Like, what
Yeah.
you're right.
Uh,
LARPers get a shit, I don't know what I'm
They
trying to
get
say.
a
They get
flack.
shit
They
on.
get flack.
They get
Yeah.
flack for it. But why not? Like, it's fun. It makes you feel good. It makes you, why not make the world the way you want it to be for an hour?
Yeah.
What you want it to be like for an hour, and be able to enjoy that, and then go back to the way things tend to suck
He's like,
the rest
the
of the
only
time.
argument I've heard against is like, well, you won't be able to tell the difference between reality and fantasy, or you just want to escape to a fantasy world.
That's
Like,
bullshit.
bitch, you're damn right. You are
No,
damn right. I want to escape into a fantasy
well,
world.
that
But
part,
even,
but
but
telling
I'm sorry,
the difference
reality and
between real.
fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, come
No,
on. We watch, like you said, we watch movies, we play video game. I mean, people do
yeah.
all that shit. It's the same thing. It's escapism, right? It's the same fucking thing.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you mean to tell me, so drinking to escape your problems is perfectly fine. Where drinking causes a bunch of accidents, can make the person
that
who's drinking it sick and die,
that is a
can
very good
have that
point.
person hurt someone else. Like, that has all those negative effects. But fucking hitting somebody with a foam sword isn't? Kiss my ass.
Well, I mean, both of us still play a lot of video games, and it's the
Oh
same thing.
yeah.
It's a form of escapism. I get to, I try to play for an hour or so each night if I get a chance, and for that hour, I'm in a different world. I'm doing something else. I'm achieving something, and it sounds so stupid. I've talked to my wife about this before. How sometimes when I play a video game, it gives me a sense of achievement or a
Mm-hmm.
sense of having made progress or actually accomplishing something. And it's sad, like when you think about it, I guess, but it is what it is. It does that for me sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm feeling defeated and down, and like you said, self-defeating, and I need that boost. I need that pick me up to be like, I just accomplished that, even if it was a silly thing in a video game that doesn't matter at
Absolutely.
all.
Well, yeah, dude. Look, okay, I got it right here. That sense of accomplishment thing, you're thinking of it in the lens of how we think about accomplishment in our society. Even
It's
though
true.
our society's backbone is make believe. Money is
Money.
make believe.
That's your favorite topic.
Oh
It
yeah,
comes up every
because it
episode.
is so because money is so fucking stupid.
Well, it is,
Money
but
is so goddamn stupid.
it seems to be able to tie into every episode in some way, shape, or form, where it just
Money
naturally flows
ties
in.
into everything.
But you're right. Accomplishment
It is
in the real
so
world,
fucking stupid.
yeah, accomplishment in the real world is completely based on money for the most part. It's
So as
based
much as
on.
I bitch about money, sorry, as much as I bitch about money, I was sitting playing the game and I was thinking about it, and I was going, if there was no money, would people make video games for me to play and enjoy myself? Or would I have to wait like 3-4 years for like 2 games to come out?
I
if we
think that,
lived in a society like that.
well, if we had a
But
society with no money, it would be either communal or bartering, right? I mean, it would have to be one of those two
or
things.
or would I be able to have the time to have the skill to
That
make something like that?
That's true, but I mean,
But
I don't think things change. I think people still pursue what they have passions about, and they're still going
mhm.
to do the work that they feel. I think actually it'd probably be a lot better because people will be able to pursue their what's going to make them happy rather than what's going to make them money, right? You
Yeah.
know,
Have you ever seen a movie that was just like a visual spectacle and it was beautiful? And
yeah, plenty.
yeah, so you've seen movies like that.
Sure.
Do they hit just as well or as strongly as a movie where you know the entire cast enjoyed making what they were making?
I don't know. I've never really thought about it.
There's for instance, The Batman. That is a movie, and this is just modern because everybody knows it, and it was a big budget movie.
Sure.
As it was technically a low budget Batman film, and I said low budget Batman film, like for a licensed Batman film.
Sure.
But
Relative to other movies, maybe not, but
yeah,
relative to Batman movies, it's a low budget.
despite the situations that went around it, despite people talking shit about the movie, you can tell that all the actors enjoyed making the movie. The one I feel like that probably has the least enjoyment in the movie was probably Zoe Kravitz, but I also have a bias with her, so but she did her role. She was perfect for that role. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like her personality bled through to it, but okay, actually, there we go. Going to Robert Pattinson, moving on to Robert Pattinson. If you compared his Twilight films, him in the Twilight films, not just the Twilight films, and him in Batman, he was way more enjoyable in that. He was way more enjoyable in The Lighthouse.
I can't say I've seen the Twilight films, but I've read many article touting his acting abilities in other films he did outside of the Twilight movies.
Because you could tell there's this innate human thing that you could just tell when a group of people are enjoying. We might not, our active brain might not be able to recognize that we see those things, but our
If you're looking
instinctual
for it.
lizard brain, yeah, just knows. Like, wow, I feel like I'm a part of this. I'm loving this. You've probably listened to a podcast and people are actually enjoying their time together. And you feel like instead of you're just listening to a podcast, you're listening to friends talking and you feel
Right.
like you're in the room with them.
Yeah, any good podcast, that's one of the major factors is that it's not, it doesn't feel laborious. It's an effort that it's a labor of love. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's why I can't get into the idea of money, because once money becomes a part of it, it almost always, at least for the average person, destroys the magic of the creation process when money becomes involved.
Well, it makes sense because
sorry,
no, like we were just talking about, if there wasn't money, let's just assume there's no money because everybody is taken care of. Everybody has their basic needs met. You would literally go into and use your time to do something you love. That would just be the way it is. I mean, you wouldn't have any other recourse, right? You'd find something you enjoy doing and do it. It wouldn't be the situation that everybody's in now where you have to find something that you can do that will make you money. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. It has to make you money. That's the end goal.
I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. I'm going to use our podcast, for example. We're only a few episodes in. And me and you have been pretty bad on probably getting fully together to get episodes going. Because, life gets in the way and things like that.
Yeah.
Or miscommunications or whatever, what have you. If money was involved in this, if we were making our living doing this and that happened, how much do you think you and I would be pissed off at each other for?
Crazy pissed off. Yeah, it would be a big fucking deal. Absolutely.
Like that, and if we had to record, but we're mad because like this motherfucker told me this time.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're going to end up with shit.
I can't do it. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's gonna be
now
shit.
I got to work with him and then giggle with him and talk like,
right.
Listen to a bunch of fucking podcast, the one with Joe Budden, when he fucking disintegrated his fucking crew. Money was involved and fucked it all up. Apparently they had good synergy. I don't know, but money fucked that up. All these dudes that involve money into their podcasts and stuff like that. Once money gets involved, this fucking piece of paper, this make pretend numbers, all of a sudden everybody loses their fucking mind because your life depends on something make believe. So if your life depends on something make believe, then god damn it, why can't religion be a thing?
I guess you make a good point. There's no
I
argument.
know it
for
was
that.
a long segue to get to that.
No, but it
that's
came
what I'm
around.
saying.
It came nicely around.
We already fucking do it. So how do you judge people on not you judging people for having religion, but how do you judge people for not wanting to play around with the fucking like make believe when we do it every day?
Sure. No, it makes perfect sense. You're
Like,
absolutely right.
yeah,
That
people
is a
get shamed for
perfect
playing their-
point.
like,
Perfect point.
yeah.
Can't be debated. Literally can't be
People
debated.
play with their kids all the fucking time, and they're like, look at this fucking weirdo. I went to the park with my son with his lightsabers and got weird looks.
Really? I
Yeah.
love playing with my kids, and I love playing pretend with them and messing around. You know what? You know what I hate?
And I mean, I was enthusiastic. I wasn't just like,
No, me
just
too.
swinging. Like, we were jumping around. I
Yeah,
hurt
me too.
myself.
We have a great time. I love playing with my kids is one of the greatest joys of my life. The only thing I
Yeah.
knew I wanted to do with my life was have kids. I didn't know what career I wanted. I didn't know what path I wanted to go down, but I knew from a very young age, I want to have kids. That's like definitely one of the things in my life that I need to do. That's going to make me feel complete and whole as a person. But it really drives me crazy that I get told all the time that I'm such a good dad. People tell me all the time, "Oh my God, you're such a good dad."
Like, I'm
Matthew's such a good dad. Well, it's why I'm a loving dad. I do for my kids what I feel they need to. I don't do anything crazy. I pay them the attention they deserve and need. And it's crazy to me that people.
Does that make sense to you?
No, it makes no sense. I guess it's still, you know what? I'd say it's that older mindset, the boomer generation and older, where it's okay, the women take care of the kids and the men work. And so when they see a dad that's super engaged with their kids, it's just like, well, that didn't used to happen. But I have people younger that still say that to me.
They say that shit.
It kind of breaks my heart a little bit because I wonder about their kids they know, other kids they know, and their parents, and like, do they get attention and love the way they should,
Yeah.
But it bothers me every time I hear it because I'm doing what should be done, period. I'm not doing anything special or out of the way or extraordinary. I'm doing what should be done. I'm doing what is I believe is required of me, and that's it. So I don't know.
Dude, that's such a, like, people don't understand. People who say that, I'm sure, do not understand how fucked up what they're saying is. And I'm not saying fucked up like they're a fucked up person. They just don't understand. Like, that's actually really fucked up.
Yeah, that sucks. Because what you're saying is that other dads you see are not paying attention to their kids, or not giving them their time, or not playing with them, or whatever it may be. That's really what you're saying. I have
to mention how many times my wife has told me, "Oh yeah, my friend's husband is out drinking with his friends." Mind you, they have 3 kids. Is out drinking with his friends. So she can't go out, or we have to go over. And then when we go over to the house, my kids and my wife, her and her friend, they leave because her friend never gets to go out or do anything, and I get stuck with all the kids. I get annoyed by it? Yes. Am I upset? Not necessarily. I am annoyed. But when it happens constantly. But she'll ask, and you know what? Go ahead. Even if I'm annoyed, I'll tell her, go ahead. Because, one, the kids want to play together. And I understand that her husband just, he spent a whole bunch of their money to build himself a fucking garage so he could show it off and show how manly he is. He has a little man cave downstairs, which is all right, I guess. It's cool. He has a bar and stuff. Really cool. But they had a birthday party for one of her kids, and he was downstairs with all the other fathers drinking. And the 2 wives were talking to two of the wives were talking to my wife, and I apparently missed this because I was just tuned out, saying, it's kind of funny how all the guys are downstairs drinking and we're up here with the kids. Well, except for your husband.
It makes me
And
really actually
like,
feel really sad. It really
just
does.
like, well, one, I'm not that big of a drinker. I will, but I'm not that
I
big of
don't
a
drink at
drinker.
all, so that's never appealing to me.
Yeah, see, but two, because one, the kids want me around. I was talking to my friend's daughter because I've known her entire life, and she was showing me all like the cool like stuff she's doing, and I was helping her with her drawing stuff because she's trying to do animation on her tablet,
Oh
and
yeah,
she introduced this app to me called Flip a Clip, and what I guess is like a beginner's animator like app. And then I
okay,
showed her some tricks on another app that she can then install it into the other one. And so it was just really cool that I showed her that, and she's now like gotten better with animation because she's pretty good. And for like being 11,
mm-hmm.
and it was just like, but that was a normal interaction. But to see that, oh man, he's so engaged. He's engaged with the kids, and he's up here instead of downstairs drinking and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, this is supposed to be fucking normal.
Should
I
be.
know. I'm not
I
talking
mean,
about
for
like
us, it is.
helicopter parent. Yeah, not helicopter parenting, but at least coming upstairs once in a while. Even when I went downstairs, I would come upstairs once in a while to check on the kids or to see if my wife was okay. To see if
Sure.
she was having a good time. Is she okay? Like, even when I hang out with you, I fucking do that.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it's been a minute, but when we hang out, it's usually our families commingling. We're all hanging out together. The kids are playing. We're playing with the kids. Whatever may come about, but it's not like this, like, I don't know, segregated
Yeah,
hangout.
the only time I separated from my family completely at your house is to use the bidet. God, I
Use
said
my
that
bidet.
backwards. Bidet.
Oh, that
The bidet.
I put that on the list too. People who don't use a bidet. That's going to be an episode at some point.
I know this is all you, but I fucking love that. It's so good.
It's gotta be. It's on the list. I definitely put it on there because we're gonna hit that topic one of these days because that infuriates me. I don't know why you wouldn't use a bidet. Did you get one yet? Did you ever get one?
No,
I told you I was gonna get you one. I think, and I never did. I
have
gotta get you one.
one bathroom in my house. I
I'm
don't
gonna
get a
get you
personal
one.
bathroom, and I know for a fact my daughter is going to fuck with it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I
My
just
kids
don't want
do
that.
once in a while.
I just don't want that at all. Like she likes playing pranks, and she put water in my wife's toothpaste tube.
What? Water in the toothpaste tube?
Uh-huh.
I don't know how.
Because it's
I don't get
harmless
it.
enough.
It
Because
is harmless.
it's harmless, but it also is upsetting when you go to brush your teeth and fucking minty water spills out. And no, my wife was furious, but my daughter would do shit like that. She did something to the. She would empty stuff out too. Don't get me wrong. She does, like, she would like empty the toothpaste out or like mess with things she's not supposed to.
Yeah, all kids do that
And
stuff.
say it's a prank, but she's a little kid. I'm just like, at least she wasn't setting the house on fire.
Yeah, I mean
hope she doesn't get to that level.
it's all relative, I guess. If your kid's acting up, is acting up. But I always think that way too. I'm like, oh, at least they're not breaking walls or throwing things through the windows when they do act up.
Well, that's the balance, isn't it? Is at least in the evidence that I have, the wife has to overreact. The husband has to underreact, and then they have to coincide those two reactions into getting the proper reaction. Because the wife would be like, yeah, she did this on principle. This is wrong. The husband's like, well, at least it's not this.
I think,
it's probably not that bad.
I think my wife and I flip. Like, we kind of each take on that role, like, and we switch.
I guess
sometimes.
it depends on the topic.
It depends on the situation. But sometimes, so we definitely, it's the same thing. It's always one underreacts, one overreacts, and then we switch sometimes. So depending on what the situation.
Yeah, it's probably not super simple as husband and wife.
No, but to your point, yeah, that's exactly how it goes. But I don't know. That makes me sad to think about. When I think about that's not a common
it just doesn't
thing.
seem normal. It doesn't seem normal. My dad worked multiple jobs when I grew up, but he was the more sensitive of the two between my mom and my dad. I've seen my dad cry way more and more often than my mom. As tough as I thought my dad was, and as tough as my dad is. So, like. But he also liked spending time with us. He would try to play the games with us when we can. My love for Batman came strictly from my dad. To this day, anything Batman he loves, even if it's garbage, he loves.
My dad was the complete opposite. He was never. He worked. He'd come home. I think he was really battling depression hard, and it was like basically just leave me alone. Like
Got it.
don't go near him, or he's gonna flip out and start screaming at you. It was rough. So I didn't have that. So you can't even say like it's just generational. Not generational. That's the wrong word. But your dad did it for you, and now you're doing it for your kids. Because that wasn't my case. That's not how it went for me.
My dad attempted, mind you. My dad and I didn't get along until I was an adult.
Right.
But we had you love, even if you don't like somebody, you love them if they're in your family usually.
Sure.
And that's kind of how that went.
That makes
just
sense.
like my dad and I, we didn't get along. I put a hole in my wall because my dad and I were having an argument because he was clearly wrong and was not listening to me, and I got hurt, and then he yelled at me, so I put my hand through a wall. And then he got mad at me again, rightfully so, because he had to fucking fix
the wall. That makes sense.
But I was also like 15, 16, and teenagers are just the fucking worst.
They are. I'm not looking forward to those years. I guess we'll go through them together at least.
I don't know.
Well, we can commiserate,
I'll just be crying every day.
Well, we can cry together. We'll get on the podcast. It'll just be a podcast of us crying together for an hour.
This little bitch, you don't know what she did.
She hurt my feelings.
My son is not my baby anymore.
Said I wasn't cool. Told me I was old.
It's like, I know. Oh my God. My kids. Whenever I say I'm old, I get yelled at. They go, "You're not old. You're older." Like,
yeah, my daughter does that too. She says the same thing. She says the same thing.
That distinction is a thing to you.
I don't know when I made the transition to feeling older to feeling old, but I definitely feel old now. I'm definitely there.
And my son, well, actually, they both have they love giving the habit of telling me that I have my dad bod. Not saying the words dad bod, but talking about my fat belly and covering my nipples if my tank top moves. Like they'll just go, "Dad," and they'll take the side of my tank top and just pull it over, and I'm super embarrassed. The embarrassment never goes away.
Yeah, you shouldn't be embarrassed, but you are. You still are. Yeah, they do the same thing to me. They like to, they come and pat my belly and you're soft.
Yeah, Dad, you have a big belly. I was like, if I had abs, you wouldn't be sleeping on me. So shut up and enjoy it.
Yeah, you want a pillow or not? I don't know when that happened either. I really don't know when that.
Blink. You're 10 years older and you have a gut.
I know. I was looking at pictures of when I first met my wife, and I'm like, is that me? I look like I weigh 130 pounds. I'm like this scrawny motherfucker. Can't even believe it's me. You know what though? I actually prefer being heavier. I didn't like being so super scrawny and lanky and looking. I feel better actually having a little weight on me. I feel like I could actually
feel that way.
Okay. I'm not saying that I prefer.
No. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm not.
No. I know. I'd rather be in the middle.
I think I peaked a few times.
That's okay. I'd rather be in the middle, but if I had to choose between being super lanky and scrawny and being a little heavier, it's not like either of us are obese or anything. Well, maybe we are clinically, but it's not like we're obese. We got dad bods.
We can't move or get out of bed or something like that.
Yeah, if things hurt, it's kind of like, oh man, I forgot something downstairs. I guess I'll go get it in the morning. I'm not going back down there. Stuff like that.
See, for me, it's oh, sorry. I've never felt skinny. I've never felt skinny. In the Army, I never thought I was skinny. Sorry. That's a lie. For 2 months, I felt like I was skinny. But not even skinny. I was thinner than I have ever been.
I was just straight scrawny.
For 2 months. The Army was just like, you have to be 165 pounds for your height. Because, mind you, I am 5'6". On everything it says I'm 5'6", except for my time in the Army. In the Army, for some reason, I'm 5'5", and my foot size is 10.5. No, it's not 10.5. Is 9.5.
So at 5'5" or 5'6", you're supposed to be 165 pounds, you said?
Apparently.
Huh. All right.
And again, they made me an inch. They made me an inch shorter. That's just all that. Mind you, I went to the doctor. Every time I go to the doctor, I get self-conscious going, please. Just when they check my height, they have to check my height.
They don't check anything
shoes,
for me.
I gotta know.
They just tasked me.
So,
They're like, "How tall are you and what do you weigh?" And I'm like,
oh,
"I don't know. I get." They're like, "Okay." I just
see, I
make
get
something
seen through
up.
the VA, so I don't have normal doctors.
No, it's weird though because they never check me anywhere I
Yeah.
go anymore. They used to, but I feel like they
Well,
never do.
maybe it's because you're white and they trust you.
You go in, they're like, "How much you weigh?" And you're like, 195. And they're like, "No, you fucking ain't. Get
No,
on
you
that fucking
don't.
scale." What the fuck you talking about?
But yeah, I didn't think I was skinny, and then I saw a picture of myself. Like recently, I saw a picture of myself. And went, "Is this picture stretched?" Like it was my first reaction. I was like, "Is this stretched?" And I looked like, no, I was skinny. And my wife looks at me and goes, "Yeah, you were really
Oh,
fit."
I
I was
don't
like,
like. I don't
"Was
like.
I don't think I was."
I was never fit, but I was just super scrawny. I don't.
No,
I don't
I
even
was.
like looking at photos of myself anymore because every time I look at a photo of myself, I feel like I'm just huge. I
See,
just
I
look
know I
up.
can grow muscle. I just didn't think I could lose fat. So I thought I was just bulky and fat. But when I look at the picture, no, I was not, I just wasn't cut, but I had the muscles and I was thin. And I was like, I didn't, I wasn't aware enough to enjoy it.
That sucks.
That makes me so discouraged to
Hey,
work out nowadays because
the
I
way.
just won't notice it.
No. Fuck that. What is it? What does Carl say in Aqua Teen Hunger Force? You're just gonna die anyway. What does it
Yeah, so
matter?
what's the point?
The way I look
Have
at
a
it,
few more
just
Fritos.
buy a few true classic teas and call it a day. You know, that's it. Those fucking teas that they make for fat guys make them look good. You
I
ever
can't
seen
go to the
those
big and
ads?
tall store. I'm only big, not tall.
Have you seen the ads for those T-shirts on social media ever?
I have seen them. And it's
It's always like some
fucking
super hot
hilarious.
chick, and she sees some really big dude in this T-shirt and is like gets super horny and like totally wants the guy because he's got on
Those
this special
t-shirts.
T-shirt. Whatever.
It's just fucking. You know what? At this point, commercials like people want to like look at like movies, like the games like Cyberpunk and movies with like the like RoboCop with the over exaggerative sponsorships and commercials and stuff. Like, look online. They are real. This is fucking real shit, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
these
pretty bad.
commercials are fucking ridiculous. It's gotten to the point that you could put up a parody commercial on YouTube and people might not realize it's a fucking parody.
I 100%. There's 100% you can do that. Not a
I
doubt
have
in my
a
mind.
picture somewhere on my Google. I think it's called. It's like conspiracy theorist like dating website.
Yeah.
And it's literally two people holding each other with tinfoil hats on. That's fucking hilarious.
That's great. That's great.
And like, that's not a parody though. That was a legit thing that like opened up.
I'm not surprised. You know what? I have to figure out one of these niches to get into because I'm trying to transition from. I mean, I don't want to talk about my work life, but I'm trying to transition from client work and do like software product development with a friend of mine that I've worked with for a while, and we've got a lot of ideas for platforms or products we want to create, basically website as a service platforms. But that's what we really need to do: get a little niche like that, figure something out that nobody's doing, like conspiracy theorist dating website, and just put that out there and just get a bunch of idiots to sign up for it.
Oh, it's so good. I'm sure there's several flat earth ones out there.
Oh, there has to be. There has to be. I'm sure there's a flat earthers dater, and there's a farmers one. I mean, how could there not be?
The farmers one almost makes sense because of where they live. Geographic location matters. So as funny as it is, and oh god, the sheer fact that you know how there's like black people meet and all those things, people and really angry racists get like incensed. Well, we can't do white people meet, which they now have done. I saw it yesterday. There is a white Christian dating platform.
Also, I want to be clear. You can do that. Nobody's stopping you.
Nobody's stopping you from doing it. Just don't be racist when you do it, and understand. Just like we make fun of the black people's meet website,
people can react.
Yours.
You can do it, but people can react as well. You know.
You just want to be incensed at the idea,
of course,
I'm not allowed to do it. No, you're not. We're just gonna say no, you're not.
You're allowed to do everything else, fucker. You know. Let him have this one.
He was like, why can't I say the N-word? Okay, I can explain to you why, but you don't care. You don't want an answer.
Of course not.
You want to be upset. But But there's dumb websites for anything. Like, as long as you don't limit your imagination to what you can and cannot do, like we just talked about,
Yeah.
you can fucking make it and more than likely get an audience.
Yes. I mean, that's what the internet. I mean, it's commonly discussed.
Here's
That's what the
an idea.
internet did.
I know I shouldn't give you an idea.
Oh no.
On a podcast.
No,
but I'm
maybe
gonna
you
give an
should.
idea. A dating website for trolls. I'm not even being funny.
No, I know, but I love it.
I am dead ass. A dating website for trolls, because trolls aren't getting any anyway.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen is it's just going to be trolls trolling trolls. So
exactly.
It's going to be
and
some.
It'll become a blood sport.
Yeah, it'll be some 56-year-old white guy pretending to be a 22-year-old woman who's flirting with another 67-year-old dude pretending to be a 28-year-old man.
Yes, but it's called centrifugal force. It's just going to be self-perpetuating.
Keep going.
It's going to just constantly keep going, which is going to make you that revenue. Then some dudes on dudes or ladies, whatever, whomever, everyone in between, are going to be on YouTube making videos about this crazy website where trolls are trolling trolls, and it's going to be like bringing internet blood sports back.
You want that to be your legacy? Like I don't want that to be my legacy, though. I don't want people to Wikipedia my name and see that.
A conspiracy theorist website is you are okay with that being your fucking legacy?
I'm not saying I wanted that to be my legacy. I'm just saying I need an idea like that. It doesn't have to be fucking infuriating or inflammatory. It just needs to be a good idea.
Just fucking Howard Stern it, dude. Just give up. Be nihilistic in your beliefs.
Just throw it all away. Fuck what my Wikipedia page says. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. We're all gonna die.
People can edit that shit anyway.
Yeah.
Look, if you die before me, I promise I will fuck up your Wikipedia page. If you ever get one.
Well, can you make one for me then? I'm probably gonna die.
No, because if I make one, it's gonna be disingenuous as shit. You need to make it so I can fuck it up.
I have a physical next week, and I'm like super worried about it. I'm pretty sure. I feel like I have all kinds of problems. You know what really started bothering me? Like a couple years ago, like right as COVID was starting, I remember I went to see some sort of doctor, or I don't know if it was a checkup or what. They took my blood pressure and they were like, "Yeah, your blood pressure's a little high." And like a year later, I went back and they're like, "Oh, your blood pressure's a little high." And then like 6 months later, I went to a different doctor. Like, "Oh, your blood pressure's a little high." And I was like, "Oh," I was like, this is becoming a trend. So I'm just waiting for me to go on. They're going to be like, "Oh yeah, your heart's going to explode." Something like that. I'm just waiting. I guess I'll let you know next week after I have the appointment.
Oh, or you just won't show up next week.
Or yeah, maybe they'll put me in the hospital in an emergency. But I'm going to go and I'm going to have them pull blood and urine and look at everything. I don't know. I'm starting to get to that point. You know, my grandfather died of heart disease like young. He was like in his early 50s. Wow.
So it does run in your...
Yeah, it does. My my dad's the same age as yours, you know, early 60s now or whatever. I don't even know, like 64 maybe. And he's ticking along, but that was because he knew, you know, he knew what happened to his father, so he went and, you know, he got on meds or whatever and made sure he addressed it. And I need to I want to go and make sure I do that. Now that I have kids, you know, it's like I really do want to stick around and be around for them. I want to see what happens, you know.
During my time, because just to make you maybe feel a little bit better, throughout my time in the military, I want to say the last 2 years, going to the doctor, that's what was happening. It was saying, you have really high blood pressure. And then I got diagnosed with hypertension. Then a few years after getting out, they were saying you still have high blood pressure. We might have to put you on medication. We ended up finding out before they even did that I have stress-induced hypertension.
I get it.
So
that makes sense.
No matter what because I'm out of shape. I am in the worst shape of my life, but I don't have high blood pressure anymore. They've for the last few years, they've been doing mind you, it doesn't mean I'm not stressed.
Right.
But whatever was causing that stress was inducing that. And I'm medicated for, you know, my ADHD, and I go to therapy and all these different things. But
you have the tools to manage it at this point.
Yeah, which I didn't have then.
Right.
So you actually may have something more along those lines, even though it runs in your family. So definitely get that checked.
I'm going to find out. I've always had, my pulse
might
has
be.
always been high. I mean, even when I was younger, like 18, 19, 20, I remember
Yeah.
trying to go give blood. And every time they'd be like, are you nervous? I'd be like, no. Be like, are you sure? Is something bothering you? No. They're like, well, your pulse is too high. We can't take blood with it. Your pulse is way. And I had high cholesterol at one point, and it was really funny. I had high cholesterol. They were putting me on meds for cholesterol. And then I went in one day and they said, you don't have high cholesterol anymore. And I was like, oh, it came down. They're like, no, they just changed the guidelines of what high cholesterol is. And I was like, so I still have the same numbers, but they've redetermined what high cholesterol is considered. And they're like, yeah,
They
so now you
moved
don't.
the fucking
I
goalpost.
was like, well, that makes me feel good about medicine. That they just literally moved the goalpost and said, nothing's changed, but you're okay now. So I don't know.
Medicine is a whole. Will this kill you? Oh, it didn't kill you, so it might work.
Yeah. Well, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, the way the FDA's changed their policies, they went from test, make sure it's okay, and then release, to test a little bit, release to the public, and see what happens to them, and then decide what to do.
Hey, for some people, and I know let's not let it flag us, but if it's the big C, it's usually just that. Blame it on that. There are doctors that just blame it on that. The first thing they fucking do. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And this isn't me being some kind of conspiracy theorist or anti-vax or anything. I mean that just I've witnessed not happen to me, but happen to my family direct. Like I'm in the room with them or something,
right?
Saying, "Oh, it's this," or it could be like, okay, I get it. We all know that it could be this. It's hyper contagious. Got it. My son has had this condition for the last 4 years. He needs this kind of medication. Stop trying to blame it on the thing that just showed up.
Yeah.
Because that will make what he's going through right now even worse. Please get us his medication.
Medicine's weird these days too. I mean, God, mental health we were talking about earlier is just a disaster. We need to do an episode where we talk about mental health, because mental health is just a fucking mess in this country. It's crazy. I mean, trying to find a doctor is like impossible. Trying to find a therapist is impossible. Yeah, the resources just aren't there. And I mean, I personally feel mental health is just as important as physical health, if not in some ways more so, to a certain degree. So I don't know. But man, should we wrap it up? We've been talking forever.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking, and I feel like I could just keep talking forever, but I feel like if we do that, people are going to just stop listening once they realize the episodes are 2 hours long.
You're assuming they're still listening.
They are.
This is just a long episode because we missed it.
Yeah. I checked the numbers. People are still kind of listening.
I'm afraid.
Speaking of, if anybody listening has any thoughts or comments on anything we talk about, please feel free to shoot us an email. You can send it to podcast@andthatiswhyihateyou.com. So it's podcast @andthatiswhyihateyou.com. I don't know why I spelled out podcast. People know how to spell podcast. If you don't know how to spell podcast, you probably couldn't be able to figure out how to write us an email either. So I'm not really too worried about that. We should have the new website up soon. I got to get it launched, and that'll have a regular form on there. But hey, if you're listening, subscribe on Apple Music or leave a review. Follow us on Spotify. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. If you like the podcast, tell a friend about it. If you don't like it, tell an enemy about it. We don't care. Just give us a net zero. It's fine. And we're really enjoying doing it. We hope you guys are enjoying listening to it.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Man, we talk a long time. We should hide Easter eggs at the end of the episodes. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what to say.